Good evening, everyone, and a warm welcome to a very, very special edition of Hackenbroch's Helpful Half Hour. Tonight is the climax, the zenith, the culmination of our year of interviews and guest speakers. And what better way than to go out with a bang with the one and only Olli Ross of Real Estate. Good evening, Olli.
Good evening, Rabbi. How are you?
Wow. It is an absolute honor for us to have you in our studio this evening. And the studio looks magnificent. How are you doing, Olli?
Yeah, I'm doing well. And yourself?
Yeah, great. Listen, it's an absolute pleasure. Thank you for fitting us into your hectic schedule. We are delighted to have you. For the viewers that don't know Olli Ross, he is a real household name and very popular in Woodside Park, born and bred, and somebody who is the partner in real estate and helps so many people in our community moving in and when they come to move on. So Olli, I think the starting point, we've known each other for quite a while. In fact, there's a wonderful story about how we got to know each other.
Yeah.
So tell the viewers how we go way back. We go back over 13 years. Tell the viewers, I was in Scotland. How did we meet? How did we get to know each other?
You were introduced to me by the Shaw, and we tried to find you a rental in Woodside Park, but you ended up at Whetstone from memory.
Yeah,
in Ridgeview Road. Is it Ridgeview Road?
74 Ridgeview. Yeah, that's where we started.
And you were there for a year or 18 months, wasn't it?
Correct. Yeah.
And then we found your house in Folkington Corner.
I remember we came down. You said you've got to come and see this to give it a night. It was a Friday. It was a beautiful sunny day. We came. We went in a garden, and you said if you don't do this deal now, you told us and the show, you'll lose it. And that was it. All was agreed.
And that was it. And then you bought the house, did the work,
and
moved in. You've been there many years.
And we've never looked back. We've never looked back.
And a fantastic road. Very lovely.
Yep. And now you are one of our neighbours living not far away from us. I'm not going to give the exact address, but we're delighted to have you in the neighbourhood.
Good.
So, Olli, let's start with your background, okay? Tell us a bit about, how you got into this whole thing of property. How did you get into the property business?
Yeah, well, I started at 16 years old, and I worked for a firm of estate agents called Ellis & Co., which we were based in Stanmore. I did 2 years there from 16 to 18. And funny story, actually. I wasn't meant to be working in Woodside Park or Totteridge or local. I was actually on my way to a firm in West Hampstead. And I went and helped Stephen, my partner, for 2 weeks. And after about a week, Stephen said to me, let's go and have some lunch. And he said, you know what? He said, you'll stay with me. It'll be just fine. And Stephen and my father are friends, and he phoned my dad and said, Simon, Olli's going to stay with me. And I've been there ever since. So that was, I was 18. I'm now 36. So a very, very long time ago. So that's how I got into property.
So how long have you been with real estate?
I started with Stephen in 2004.
Okay.
In the Woodside Park office. I said I was 18. And we opened the Totteridge office approximately 12 years ago now. So a long time. So we've got the 2 offices, one in Totteridge and obviously one in Woodside Park. And it's incredible. We've got a great family at real estate. We're all very close. And Stephen's like a second father to me. Like he's family. And Lucy and Stephen's wife get on, and Steve loves my kids. I love his kids. It's family. I'm very, very lucky. Very lucky.
Family business. That's lovely to hear, Olli.
Yeah.
So we live in Woodside Park, and I have to tell you, having grown up in Stanmore, which is a lovely area, but there's something very special about, I think the official name is Woodside Park Garden Suburb, encompassing Totteridge and, and what other areas do you deal with?
Well, look, I look at Woodside Park and Totteridge as one. So you've got where you live, which is I call it the Stevens side of Woodside Park, where his office is, and then the middle bit where I live, middle Woodside Park, and then you've got the Woodside Park side of Totteridge, which is this side of Longland Drive. Yeah. Then there's Totteridge, which where I work. We cover Whetstone, we cover Artley, Mill Hill, West Finchley, Finchley Central. They're our main core areas. Right.
Basically covering all of the community. And I remember, you should know, friends, that Olli and real estates were very supportive, because of course we've now got the Eruv. Okay. Yeah. We're in the Eruv. Not in the money, but we're in the Eruv. And it's been great. It's been great. And when Olli sells a flat or a house, people ask him, and he's able to show them the map or point them in my direction. So it's been really wonderful to have such good friends and loyal supporters of the community, to be able to work with our local community as well as working with all the other local communities. So Olli, I've got only 3,000 questions for you tonight. It's a Jewish community. What do you want? Okay, so let's start this.
I'll do my best.
It's not stay tonight, but we've got quite a few questions. So we're going to start. You ready?
I'm ready.
Brace yourself. Okay. When buying a flat in the area, how significant is an off-street parking facility? There's more and more flats. I mean, I don't know what you think about this. Is this a good thing, a bad thing? What's your take on it, and on Woodside Park and Totteridge with flats?
Well, look, realistically, the only real place that there are flats in Woodside Park are the roads near the station, and in Totteridge there's a few blocks on Totteridge Lane, and there's lots and lots of flats in Whetstone. Serious amount of flats going up, and more every year. So in Woodside Park, we've done extremely well with flats. We've got a block that we've just taken on Holden Road called the Westbury, and we've got 5 units left there. And it's been very, very successful. There's underground. There is parking, which is very important, and it's 2-minute walk from the synagogue. So I would say parking. The question: parking is important. Minimum 1 space per flat.
Okay, very helpful.
Definitely.
Okay. Next question for you.
Yes.
In relation to a 3-bedroom semi. Okay.
Yeah.
So if a person's going to do a loft conversion, how much would a good loft extension add value compared with the cost of constructing it?
Okay.
Does it add value or not?
Right. Okay. Square footage. I'll answer that wide. Square footage adds value in the home. So whether you're adding it in the loft or on the rear or the side, as long as you're adding square footage to your home, not outbuildings, but the actual home, you'll be adding value. So loft conversion today would cost anything from 50,000 to 100,000, depending on the size and the specification, how mad you go on the spec. And it would definitely add, I would say, a minimum of 100,000 to the value of a 3-bed semi in prime Woodside Park. So you get your money back and possibly a bit more. Bear in mind the prices of materials have gone through the roof recently. Due to the COVID, so that's the only caveat there. Okay, but it definitely adds value.
But I'm going to put a secondary question, if you don't mind, Olli. Sometimes people are lucky; they're fortunate to have a choice. They can go on the side; they could go up. What's better, to go up or to go out?
Okay, so a rear extension. Well, believe it or not, sitting in what was a 3-bedroom semi-detached house in Woodside Park. And we now have, very lucky to have, both the rear extension, which I'm sitting in now, and we've recently, last year, done a hip to gable loft conversion. And I would say to you, if you had to pick one, we did the rear extension first when we bought the house many years ago, and we couldn't afford to do the loft at the time. So we did the rear, and we had no kids back then, so it was just Lucy and I. And now we've got 2 kids, and we were fortunate enough to be able to do the roof, and it's incredible up there. It's amazing. So I would say rear first, then the loft, But if you can do both at the same time, somehow, my biggest regret is not finding a way. Somehow, there's always a way to do the construction of the roof, because it was a real pain having to come back and do it 7 years later. So if you can somehow afford to do loft and rear at the same time, and it's far better commercially as well, because the builder will do a more competitive price.
Okay.
Do both.
Good advice. We appreciate that. Okay. And the other thing is, there's this old joke that, the first thing that Jewish people do when they buy a house is they knock through. You got to have a through room, right, Olli? What do you say to that?
You knock it,
Is it, is that better, or does it not make a difference in terms of price and value?
Money wise, there's no, as long as you don't do something so out there, there's no real correct or wrong way of doing it. We've kept the wall, I'm pointing, you can't see, we've kept the wall between the front and the back room, and then opened everything else up at the back. And sometimes I think to myself, I would like it a bit more separate, and other times, I'm very happy with the way we've done it. So there's no right answer to that.
Right. Preference. Okay. So one of the things, we always get a lot of, I think not you, but the extensions get a lot of stick on that Woodside Park newsletter. What do you feel about the, there are some people that are doing basements now. I think in Totteridge and other places. What's your take about basements? There's two types of basements, my limited understanding. A basement could be under the house, or it could go into the garden. What's your take about that? Is that something good, worthwhile, good investment?
Okay, so basements, I would say there's only one basement that I know of in actual Woodside, or there's two basements in actual Woodside Park. So there's very few, because it's very difficult to put a basement under an existing building. Okay. So it's a new build where you'd put a basement. So where we're seeing basements is in Totteridge, where people are knocking down houses and building what I call a lifestyle home, which has a leisure facility in the basement. So that would add value. So if you could build a proper basement with a gym, a cinema, a swimming pool, games facility, then that is what you're creating there, a lifestyle home. We've just sold one actually in Totteridge recently. They're incredible, but obviously they come with a big price tag.
That's a very different lifestyle home to the one I would imagine, Olli. A lifestyle home that you just described sounds like a lot of physical exertion. You've got to do exercise. I thought a lifestyle home was a sushi bar, a kiddish bar, a whiskey bar, and you're saying it's physical exercise. We'll have to discuss this off air. We move on. Next question for you. When considering a flat purchase for buy-to-let purposes, apart from price, lease length, and cladding issues, what are the most important considerations when considering a flat for buy-to-let purposes?
If you're looking at purchasing a flat for buy-to-let,
yes,
you want to be close to a station, which is always because you want to attract tenants. Parking space would be great, although it's not necessary. What else is important for a buy-to-let? You want to make sure the service charge isn't astronomical, because it will come out of your rental there. A lot of people would look to try and buy a conversion, because there's less obviously outgoings with a conversion. So I would advise look at conversion. However, I think the most important thing to point out at the moment to do with a buy-to-let property is you've got to really look at it carefully, because government have put quite a lot in place to make it very, very difficult to actually make it worthwhile. You've got 3% extra on the stamp duty day one. So day one, you've got to pay £500,000 flat in the area, add another 3% to your stamp duty bill. You've also got to pay on the income. You've got to declare it as income and pay the tax. So they haven't made it easy for buy-to-let investors at the moment to go forward. Very difficult.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so we saw, the stamp duty holiday.
Yes.
People have been very privileged to
Incredible.
have a holiday. Now we are post that. Have you seen a significant change in the number of transactions? Have the numbers fallen away, or is it still buoyant to the market? What's the market like?
We're only, what are we, the 5th of July. So the deadline was last week. The build up to the deadline, really stressful, because we had a lot of chains where there were 3 or 4 properties within a chain all over the country, and we had to monitor, and it was very, very challenging, shall we say, to get it all done in time. The solicitors didn't know whether they were coming or going. The mortgage companies didn't know what they were doing, because obviously they were all backlogged. It's been very, very challenging, shall we say. However, post, we're still busy. There's still we've still got a shortage of property. As we've taken on a property in Poets Corner and Mill Hill. We've already got interest there. A house in West Hill Way in Totteridge, we've already got interest there. So there's still definitely a market, and there's an audience looking. So it's still busy.
But is there a shortage of stock in Woodside Park?
There's a shortage of property in all the areas we cover, yes. We are a real shortage at the moment of property. We haven't got enough.
So prices are going up?
Prices have gone up dramatically since last March, I would say. Definitely seen a price increase. Will it carry on? I don't know. I can't say.
Okay, so give us some idea. Woodside Park at the moment, okay?
Yeah.
Somebody wants to move to Woodside Park. We're always trying to attract them to the best community in the country. How much for a young family, 3-bed, semi-detached, average? What are we looking at?
An average price, I would say, for an unextended 3-bed semi, an average condition in Woodside Park today, you're going to be talking 800,000 as a complete minimum. But really, I would say for a nice one, 900,000, I would say. And then all the way up to 1.3.
Really?
For semi-detached, yeah. Between 8 and 1.3, depending.
Wow. Okay, so here's a question. Olli, are you there? Hello? Have we got Olli? Olli?
Technical problem there.
Are you with me?
I'm back.
Okay, good. Okay, so next question. Why are all new builds and major renovations so generic? Are we losing our garden suburb traditional feel?
I would say no, because if you look in Totteridge, Woodside Park, you can't show me there aren't any new builds here. Whetstone, that's another story, but in Woodside Park and Totteridge, there really isn't any.
Right.
So that's the beauty of the two areas, because you can't just knock down a house and build a block of flats in the middle of your road, let's say. So the chart, it's kept beautiful. There's no issues.
Okay, that's encouraging.
Yeah, very much so.
We've just come through, or we're coming through COVID lockdown, and obviously that must have a ripple effect on people's lifestyles, people's work habits. Has that impacted on the property market and the demands of what people are looking for?
Yeah, it's been absolutely insane. We found the volume of people wanting to come out of town to Totteridge, to Woodside Park, the local areas that we cover, Arkley, just because you get so much more space for your money compared to central London. And we're only half an hour, 25 minutes on the train away. So we've had an influx of buyers that have moved out. We've also had an influx of buyers that are living in smaller spaces, that are now working from home and needed more space, and have said, right, we want to go from a 2-bed flat to our 3-bed semi, or 3-bed semi to a bigger house. And it's been amazing, really has. And people that maybe weren't thinking of moving have just said, right, we're moving, and have done it.
That's fantastic. So
it's been, I won't complain. It's been busy.
Delighted to hear it. Long may it continue. What's the number one thing that sells a house, Olli? What's the number one thing?
Number one thing that sells a house?
Yeah.
I would say very difficult question. A number one thing that sells a house. I think what I've noticed in the last 20 years, the first impression is the most important impression. So when somebody walks into a home, within a minute, I think they know whether it's their home, whether it's for them or not. And within 5 to 10 minutes, I want to say a house the size of a 3-bed semi or a 4-bed semi, they've decided whether that's whether they can make that for them or not. People will buy their biggest purchase in less time than they buy a pair of shoes. It's unbelievable.
And there's an amazing story I want to tell. Ollie, do you remember the story with us? Ollie found a house for us in Totteridge, and you just mentioned.
Are we really going there?
We are going there. I'm going to leave out some of the details.
Yeah.
And Ollie was convinced this was a great deal. There was no question. It was an incredible opportunity. We were going to do very well. Anyways, Ollie just mentioned that first impressions count. So we walked into this house, and I think there were 2. I don't know whether they were Doberman Pinschers, but these dogs were the size of
big dogs.
Well, the size of us and bigger, and with big teeth. And they were waiting for lunch. And I think Gilla and I said, you know what? I think we're going to pass up on this opportunity. And that was first impressions count.
Yeah, very important.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember.
The dogs were locked in the garden.
A few houses, I remember. We looked at quite a few.
Yeah, but the dogs were locked in the garden. Then we were locked in the garden, and the dogs were locked in the house. We couldn't get out without the dogs. It was a nightmare. Yeah. Anyways, Ollie,
what I can say, sorry to interrupt you, what I can say to anybody that's thinking of selling their home is the presentation is important. So, spend a couple of weeks before inviting the estate agents around to see your home, tidying, get the garden nice. Just make the first impression that when you walk through the front door, any clutter, move it, get rid of it all, and it will go a long, long way. That is what I can advise you.
Freshly paint it? Do you need to paint it?
Yeah. If you think a little trick that a good client of mine that I met 20 years ago said to me, I won't ever forget. Think of the areas which are most, so walls, walls and carpet. So if you paint your walls and change your carpet, you've basically refurbished your whole property. So, definitely very important. Fresh paint, new floor. Goes again, if you're prepared to commit to doing that, then it is definitely worth thinking about.
It's worth it. You get it back.
Definitely.
Okay.
Presentation.
Next question, and I'm not making these questions up. These questions are coming in. What's the best road in Woodside Park? What's the best place to live?
Falkington Corner.
Why?
Because you live there.
I hope my neighbours are watching.
Do you know what? Best road in Woodside Park. Okay, no. It's not fair for me to say there is a best road in Woodside Park, but I would say I'll tell you my top 5 favourite roads. Okay.
Your personal favourites. Okay.
Pardon?
Your personal favourites.
My personal favourites.
Okay.
Mickleham Down, because I live there.
Okay.
And we're very happy here. And Lucy will live here for the rest of her life.
Okay.
Never move. So we love Mickleham Down. That's our favourite because obviously we live there. And Stephen also used to live in Mickleham Down. So it's a special road to us.
Okay.
We love Chiddingfold because it's got the green.
Okay.
Big fan of Chiddingfold. Sisbury Rings. I love the Sisbury Rings. I think they're amazing. Chantonbury Way because it's wide. Warmington Falls. My brother lives there.
Which one?
Warmington Falls, a lovely road. It's a very wide road.
Very wide. I like it. Yeah.
They're all, they're all amazing tonight. But I could actually very easily tell single road in Woodside Park and go. But I'm not going to do that tonight. Yeah, but they're all very. Each road is got something.
I agree. Now here's a question, and again, these are not my questions, but they are. But it's a tough question, but it deserves a good answer.
Yeah.
Why should we use an estate agent like you when Purple Bricks is free? What do you offer that Purple Bricks doesn't?
I can answer that. First of all, it's not free. You have to pay an upfront cost, which you're tied in for. say £1,500, and if you decide not to sell, you still owe them the money. So that's the first thing. It's not free.
Okay.
You're pretty much on your own. So what you get is you get access to the portal, so Rightmove, and that is all you get. Okay, and they'll do the viewing service for you, possibly where they send people. But what they're not getting is the expertise to negotiate the sale for you, so agree the price, and then see the sale from start to finish. And I can tell you, especially in the last couple of months, it's really tested, my ability, Stephen's ability, and Jordan in my office, Paul Jordan. I don't know if he's listening. Tell you what, he's lost whatever little hair we're losing the hair we've got. It's very honestly, to get the hard work starts when you agree the sale. The easy bit is finding the buyer. The hard work starts.
I agree.
Getting the sale from start to finish and dealing with the stress. So
getting it across the line, especially when you've got a chain, right?
Correct. Look, there's some people out there that may be watching or not watching that would be more than able to see the sale through from start to finish and deal with it, negotiate the price, but it's not for everybody, and that's what people pay us to do. Sure. So I would say there's a massive. I'd advise anybody to go to a traditional estate agent rather than an online agent, and I can clearly see it's working because Purple Bricks, they're not as big as they were when they started however many years ago. So I would definitely advise a traditional agent. Right.
Any other advice about property, about people's houses or their flats?
Yeah. What as far as doing them up?
Doing them up. Also, about one thing we haven't discussed is about security.
Security is a big thing, massive at the moment. So we have in our roads. There's 4 roads that I don't know more than that, 5, 6 roads. We're all on a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Well, 2 WhatsApp groups. There's more of a severe one if anything horrendous happened, which touch wood, touch gold, nothing horrendous has happened in recent months. And then there's another one which we call the patrol group, where people can use more freely. So that's very important. I would also say CCTV. You can have CCTV or a Ring doorbell, and anything at all that's a deterrent is worth having. Definitely.
Right. Yeah, I think one of the beauties and one of the advantages of Woodside Park, just from personal experience compared to other areas, is living. Many of these roads are cul-de-sacs, or they're quite narrow roads, and it can be difficult with parking. But the advantage is all the neighbours, we're all in it together. We're watching each other, and therefore it's much more difficult for an intruder to come down those roads. But with obviously the car thefts in Woodside Park,
that's mad. Yeah, the car thefts are unfortunate. But no, we've got great community in the area. Real community in Totteridge, Woodside Park, all the areas that we cover. Yeah, real communities.
Yeah. Can you see any massive changes happening in these areas in terms of property development?
No, because look, certain areas, Whetstone, there's development going on, but in Woodside Park and Totteridge, which we focus on, they're the main areas I say we cover, shall we say, there is no real development in the garden suburb of Woodside Park and in Totteridge Prime, as far as knock down one house and build 10. It's just not happening. Right. Can't physically. There is any space.
It's going to stay the way it is.
It should do. Look, I never say never, but it should stay the way it is. It should stay the way it is.
Which is what it's all about.
Correct. That's why the area is so strong.
Yeah, well, we've come to the end of our time. I'm afraid we're out of time. It's been an absolute joy and pleasure for us to have in our Mickleham Down studio Olli Ross with us tonight. Olli, thank you so much for joining us and for all your advice. It's a pleasure as always. But do you know, Olli, what was the best investment you ever made? Do you know?
Best investment? I have my wife.
100%. I was there when you got married, and it was also to do with football. Do you remember what happened that night?
Oh, yeah. There was a big football match on, wasn't there? I remember.
It went to penalties. It went to penalties, and England lost on penalties, from what I recall.
Yeah, I think
England lost.
Wednesday won't happen. Wednesday should be good.
Correct, but England lost, but Lucy and Ollie won. You both came out winners that night, and you've been blessed with a lovely marriage and a lovely family. And
9 years ago last month.
I know, and we are honoured. We are delighted to have you as members and close friends. We'd like to thank Ollie, like to thank Real Estate, and like to thank each and every one of you for joining us over the course of this series. Over the course of the last few weeks, we have been privileged to hear from a broad cross-section of experts that have given of their time so generously, from fitness coaches to vets to doctors to property. We've heard from each and every one of them, and even car salesmen, and we appreciate each and every one of them of giving them of their time so generously. We thank you for watching. We thank Ollie and look forward to seeing you again. And now everyone can go back to Wimbledon and look forward to Wednesday. Take care, everyone. Good night.
Thank
All
you.
the best.